Now it's good. So hello, happy, what is it, August. I'm very happy that you are joining us even during your summer vacations. Today I have a special guest here. You have seen him already. His name is Kevin from Drexel University. Thank you for joining us, Kevin.
Thanks for having me.
We will be talking about essay writing, which I'll be very positive that you're all doing during your free time, writing your essays for college applications. Don't leave it on till the last minute because it is very important. And today, mostly Kevin will give you tips about essay writing and what is it, the common application essay and how to write it, how to brainstorm. And then definitely I'll be happy to read your draft and to help you out. So let's start about the Education USA, which is where I come from. The Education USA is a service, it's a network that provides free, accurate, and comprehensive and unbiased actual information about studying in the US. So I know that this webinar or the live stream is in English, but I do speak Czech fluently. I am a Czech person. So guys, if you're watching and you are not confident in English, feel free to send me an email in Czech and I'll be very happy to navigate your first steps when it comes to studying a bachelor's degree in the United States, or if you need some information about master's or maybe a high school exchange, I'll be very happy to provide some information. So there'll be my email on the next slide. I am basically based in Prague. We can switch. Yeah, thank you. I am based in Prague, which is, you know, it's cool. I have a center there, but if you are not from Prague or you don't want to stop by, I'm also based in Brno half of the week, and I am definitely reachable online. So my email address is advisor@fulbright.cz. So if you have questions or if you just want to say hi, feel free. I'll be very happy to say hi back and help out. You can also visit our American centers that are in Plzeň, Ústí, Olomouc, Brno, Ostrava, and one is in Prague as well. They usually have libraries and sometimes they organize conversation clubs, which is great if you want to improve your English as a starter. So if you live in those cities, the American centers have interesting activities and events. So feel free to check out their website or social media and just to stop by, they'll be able to advise you as well. And as for what I can offer to you, we have free services. It's really it's free. So don't worry that I'll charge you anything. Because sometimes, you know, people say it's free and then it's not free, but we are free. We offer live streams as this one. I switched from webinars to live streams. I feel that it's great that you can see it, you know, on your own time, on your own convenience. So we are doing live streams about different topics. Today it will be essay writing, but I am planning to do a Common App walkthrough. So if you are in the third year of high school or entering third year of high school, you will be applying, and this Common App walkthrough will kind of show you what to do in that website or on that portal and how to apply to American schools and universities. We also have a library. So if you are preparing for your SATs or TOEFL or GREs, we do have books that can help you with that and you can borrow them from us. And then we offer consultations. So again, feel free to send me an email or send me a DM on Instagram, that's fine too. And we'll probably just schedule something on Google Meet or Zoom, and I'll be able to help you with your questions and whatever you need to know. If you scan the QR code on the page, that will give you a registration to our newsletter, which I send on the 1st of each month. And you know, I create the newsletter myself, so I usually put things that would interest me about US higher education system, about scholarships, about what to do, you know, being in the second grade, being in the third grade of high school, like what to do so that I am not behind and I don't forget about anything. So this is something I do for you. And I also kind of show you what kind of events do we have and so forth. And then you can follow us, of course, on social media to find out. So you'll find us under the handle EducationUSA Czech. And the same thing is on YouTube, where I'll also save this recording. So if you need to watch it later, when you actually start your essay writing, you can go back to this live stream and see it again. And now I'll leave it to Kevin, who really prepared a great presentation about essay writing. So thank you again for joining us, and I'll leave it up to you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon or good evening for all of you. It's a beautiful summer morning here in Philadelphia. I'm really thrilled to have my cup of coffee with you today and talk about essay writing in the college application process to U.S. universities. My name is Kevin Murray, and I am an assistant director of undergraduate admissions here at Drexel in Philadelphia. I am also a Drexel alum. I graduated in 2015, and I'm also currently getting my master's degree at Drexel. So my entire personality is Drexel associated at this point. The reason that I'm here, however, is that I work on our international admissions team here at the university, and I support students applying to Drexel from all over the world, most especially all of Europe, including parts of Eurasia, as well as a couple of territories here in the United States. So I read essays from students from all different walks of life applying to Drexel University, both for admission to the university, but also for our scholarship program, which is called the Drexel Global Scholars, which is a full tuition scholarship program for international students. So we have a really extensive essay portion of that application process as well. So I've read a lot of essays from a lot of people from all over the world over the last 5-ish years. So I'm really happy to be here and share some of my advice and general pieces of knowledge about the essay writing process. We will have an activity in this presentation, and I know that might seem a little odd since we are live streaming and then this will then live on YouTube later on. So when we get to that slide, I'll give you instructions about how to proceed with the activity. It will include you pausing the presentation, taking part in the activity, and then coming back to the presentation after you've done. I always feel like I try to get as much interaction as possible out of my presentations, even when you might be watching them weeks or months or years later, which is totally fine. So let's get started. So here's what we're going to be covering today. We're going to do a general overview of the role that essays play in the college admissions process. We're going to be talking about the different types of topics that you might run into when you are looking at applications to U.S. universities or particular scholarship programs. I'm going to give you some insight and some guidance for how to do initial planning around your topic selection and actually starting to think about how you're going to write your essay for college. Then we're going to do that super fun activity that you're going to do by yourself that I just said. And then we'll provide some final general advice and come back around and wrap the presentation up. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing that I would encourage you all to do as we're starting with this presentation is to think to yourself, what have you heard about the college essay? Have you heard that it is the most important part of an application? Have you heard that it is not an important part of the application? Have you heard that it's right in the middle? Have you heard that it needs to be super dramatic about all of the horrible things that have happened in your life? Have you heard that it should be really positive? What are the sort of things that you've read on the internet, on Reddit or on forums or on Twitter and Facebook, on Instagram, seen on TikTok about the college essay? And how has that really penetrated your thought process about how you're going to write the essay? There's so much information out there about writing college essays. We are part of that information that is out there about writing college essays. So I understand the fact that you are probably coming in to this essay writing process with a preconceived notion about what a college essay should be. I want to tell you first that there is no such thing as a perfect college essay. That doesn't exist. The only thing that can be as close to perfect as possible is an essay that you are really proud of, that you feel as though tells the admissions office something about you. A really important part about the essay is that it is the only thing on your application that you have 100% control over. You don't always have control over the classes that you take in school. Sure, you have some of the control over how you perform in those classes, but your teacher has to grade you as well, right? So you don't have 100% control. You might have a lot of control over the activities that you're involved in or the part-time job that you have on the side, but also you don't have access to everything that everybody in the world has access to, right? When it comes to the essay, you have access to the same topics that every single person in the world has access to. So you're able to really control every piece of information that you're providing to any admissions office that you're applying to. So that control, with that control and with that power, also comes some responsibility. So hopefully through our time today, you'll understand and get a bit of a better idea of what you'd like to share in your essay and how to go about getting to the point where you're ready to submit it. Some basic information about the college essay. The main essay, which you'll submit either through a common or a coalition application, which are the two primary applications to US universities, will be capped at 650 words. For some folks, that might seem like a lot. For some, you might feel like that's not that much. It's about 2 pages double spaced. That's a rough idea of how long this essay is, okay? Then some universities will require supplemental essay prompts or specific essays for scholarships, and those typically hover between 250 to 300 words, so about half the length of your main essay. So I just want to give you that sort of context around the normal length of the college essays. A big and important thing to know, which we'll be talking about next, is to make sure that you are answering the prompt. You are given a topic. It is really important for you to answer that topic. I talk a lot in my advice to students about writing essays that it should feel as close to a conversation as it possibly can be. There's no way to make it a perfect conversation, right? Because it's words on a computer screen and I'm probably a stranger reading it, right? But the best way that you can get it there is by looking at the prompt and answering the prompt within your essay. If you think about it in real life terms, if a person asked you a question and you rambled on for 650 words about something completely different, that would feel a little odd. And maybe that person wouldn't think well of you after that answer. So in your essay, it's really important for you to actually answer the prompt. My third little piece of basic stuff here before we move on is that there are many universities that give essays as being optional. I will say that in many cases, optional does not actually mean optional. But I will say this, before I go into this part, I will say that I understand that there is a lot to do in the college admissions process, especially for international students who are interested in applying to US universities. I understand that there is a lot to do. So if a university is truly offering an optional essay, and when I say truly, I encourage you to reach out to that university and ask how they use an optional essay in their review process. Then, and you feel as though adding that essay would not benefit your application in any way, that's okay. It can be optional. Take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, really consider how you can best be a quality person in this process, not just a strong applicant. But if a university is giving you the opportunity to tell them more about who you are as a person, and you have the ability to complete that essay and that assignment, I would strongly encourage you to do so. I think it gives us as admissions officers more ammo to go to our committees to help us make decisions about who we're offering admission to or who we're offering our scholarships to. So really think about that and whether or not it's a worthwhile adventure for you to write that optional essay. And then lastly, little quick thing before we move on, pay attention to what school you are actually applying to. You would be surprised at the amount of essays that we read who list universities that are not the university that we work at. That little tiny mistake, while it is funny, obviously it's sort of a joke, and makes us laugh because we read so many essays, we can only laugh. There's no reason for us to be upset. That could make a difference between you being admitted and you not being admitted at highly selective institutions. So really pay attention that the essay that you're submitting to each school is the correct essay for that university. It's a really important thing.
I actually have a question because you mentioned that we are going through either Common App or Coalition App. So there is a space that for each school you can submit a different essay, right? Because we don't usually advise students to just create one essay and then copy it and just like change the names. You really have to be more personal with each school. But so like I know that a certain part is similar for every school, but these essays and maybe recommendation letters are different for each school, right?
Good question. So sometimes they are and sometimes they are not. The vast majority of US universities who utilize one of these two applications will have their main essay be the same. So you can submit the same primary essay to all of your applications. This piece of advice is more tailored towards those supplemental essays and the additional essays that you provide that might be specific to the individual college that you submit. So while your primary essay, which are the topics we're about to discuss, can be submitted to all universities, and you should not name a university in that essay. That's important too. The supplemental essays that you might submit for some places, it's really important to make sure that you're submitting the correct one to the correct school.
Got it. Yeah.
Thanks for that clarification. I appreciate it. All right, so let's talk about the different essay topics. Looks like the photo didn't come through all that great here, but that's okay. I'm not going to read through them individually anyway, because there's a lot to read here. But this is the two different batches of essay topics that are available to students applying for this coming application cycle. So the one that just opened 2 weeks ago. So the topics are listed on the websites for the Common and the Coalition application. So even if you can't see these on the screen because they're a little bit blurry, that's okay. You'll be able to go to their website and look up the prompts in advance. Each application lists these essay topics out, normally in the spring before their application opens. So even if you're not applying for this coming application cycle and you're currently a junior or younger in high school, that's okay. You can still go to the Common or Coalition applications website in the spring and see their upcoming topics. Some popular ones that students will often write about are things to do with roadblocks that they've had in their lives and how they've overcome them. US universities, I think in general, love to understand how students are able to persevere through challenges. Because the transition to college is often students' largest first adult challenge as they move out of their family home and their comfortable life where they've lived previously. So that sort of essay is often one that students will pick. Another really popular one is to submit an essay of a topic of your choice, which you have that option for both of the applications. So if there's something that you've written or something that you really want to write about that doesn't match one of the topics that have been presented by the applications, that's okay. You can still submit that essay. We would really rather hear from you about something that really matters to you, as opposed to you just writing an essay that you feel matches one of the prompts. So think about that as you're deciding what topic you're going to write about and understanding what essay you're going to submit. Remember that we do actually read these essays. And it's important for us to read something from you that you actually care about. It'll make your writing better. It'll tell us more about you, and it'll really show us what matters to you, because you picked to spend the only part of your essay, that you're the only part of your application that you have 100% control over, talking about that particular topic. So be sure to think about that as you're determining what is the best topic for you. The other piece of this topic selection here are those supplemental essay topics that I was talking about earlier. Supplemental essays are essays that US universities ask students to provide to give us supplemental information, right? Hence the name of the essay. Some of these essays might be for admission to the university. An example of that is at the University of Chicago in Chicago, Illinois. They have some of the most unique essay topic requirements for their supplemental essays every year. And that's because they're actually topics that are designed by current University of Chicago students. So the university goes to their current students and says, hey, if you had the ability to write a topic about anything or write an essay about any topic when you were applying to Chicago, what would you want to have written about? And then they build their essay topics off of that. So they are required for admission. You have to submit them. They are not optional. And there are many selective universities that have such supplemental topics required of students to submit beyond just the basic application essay. There are other examples of supplemental topics that are for specific programs at universities, like honors programs or specific academic units at universities. For example, Drexel requires a supplemental essay for our College of Media Arts and Design. So if you're interested in applying to design programs at Drexel, we require our students to submit a supplemental essay for that. The reason for that is that our art school is not a typical art school. It is not based off of traditional drawing and painting and studio art. It is built around technology, working together and utilizing the highest forms of technology in your design. And you can find information about that on our website. So what we hope for students to do is do research into our programs and then tell us why that sort of art school is a better fit for them than a more traditional art school program that you might apply to. So that's why we have that supplemental essay requirement as well. The last thing that I'll include here is that there are many universities that offer scholarships for international students, and many of them will require students to write an essay. And what we're asking students there to do, everybody is a little bit different, but we really want them to show us why they stand out from all the other applicants in our pool and may deserve additional scholarship to help them attend the university, no matter where that is. So think about that as well, as there may be some essay requirements there too.
Well, I usually tell my students just not to take this as something you have to do, but take it as an opportunity, because there is not enough space in your application to really sell yourself and tell the university about yourself. There is CV, maybe motivation letter, but then you have this, you have 650 words to talk about you and tell them more about you. So I always say, like, take it as a challenge, take it as an opportunity to introduce yourself in a different light, and like talk about your hobbies, about your obstacles, and about your history, what led you to apply here. And when they look at it not as the homework, but as something that can benefit like them in the application process, then the essays are much better, then it's just like something they have to take, on that application checklist. So I think the topics are amazing. And even though they're blurry for Czech students, honestly, guys, just Google common application prompts or something, and it will show you the 7 prompts. And then there is the one that's just optional, up to you. So just Google it, have a look. And you can also Google like good examples, bad examples, like Google knows everything. So
exactly, I agree. Yeah, and I think that idea of not treating it like homework is a great perspective to have. Something that I always tell students is that hopefully you'll only apply to undergraduate uni one time, right? So hopefully you'll only go through this process one time. So what that means is that hopefully you'll only have to write this basic essay one time. So while it does seem like a lot of work, and there are a lot of things to do and a lot of moving parts to the application process, if you are only applying to universities that require this one essay, the primary application essay, you only have to write one essay. So it really is not that much in the grand scheme of all of the work that you need to do in your life. One essay to get you into hopefully the place that you're going to be, that's going to be your home for the next couple of years. It's really not that much work in the grand scheme of things. So really think about it like that as well.
Yeah, true.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about initial planning and topic selection. The first thing that you should do when you're picking what sort of topics that you'd like to write, I skipped too quick, is to think about how many different essays you do need to write. So if you're looking at the schools that you plan to apply to, you have your list together of schools that are important to you. You've understood what their requirements are, right? They're all listed on their website. You should know exactly what the universities that you're applying to are asking. You should know at that point, how many different essays are you going to need? If you're only applying to schools that require just the common or the coalition application essay, that's great. You probably only need one essay. Amazing, we're done. So then you just have to pick one topic from those lists of prompts. If you're applying to universities that require different types of essays, including those supplemental essays, then you're going to understand, hey, I'm going to need to write a little bit more here than maybe my friends who are only applying to specific schools. So that allows you to be a little bit more strategic with your time and effort. So understanding first how many different essays you need, that's sort of step number one. Step number two, what do you want to write about? And I'm saying, what do you want to write about for a very particular reason? There is going to be tons of people in your life who tell you what they think you should write your essay about, unprompted. And I say unprompted because I'm going to get to my next piece of advice if necessary. The essay, like I said, is something that you have complete control over. And what that means is that you should really take that time to tell the admissions offices at the universities that you're applying to what is important to you. What do you want us to know? Because if you like the topic and it matches who you are as a person and allows you to tell us a story about who you are, that is the best case scenario for an essay. If you are taking a topic or a story that has been forced upon you by anybody, we're probably going to be able to tell. There are things called college admissions consultants, which you may be familiar with, who serve a really wonderful purpose in this process. They really aid many students in their application process to universities, but many of them are not 17-year-old high school students. So the tones of their essays that they write come across as a little bit different than those who are the students applying to us. So make sure that even if you're utilizing the assistance of somebody else, which I encourage if you need it, I think that's a really important part of this as well, is to make sure that at the end of the day, the essay that you're submitting to us is something that you wanted to write about, because that'll really come through in the words that we have on our screen or on the piece of paper.
Here I actually have a question. Like, Czech
Sure.
students usually come to me with worries or that they have difficulties with English language. So yeah. I read the essay and I know that it's clear what they want to say, but sometimes there are not really typos, but the grammar does not really fit the perfect English grammar, but I want it to be their essay. And as you just mentioned, it will come up, eventually that their English is not as good as when somebody read it and corrected it. So yeah, is it okay that I tell them, like, guys, it's fine, this is you, and how is it with the grammar part of this? Sure.
I think that is a really important question. I think there is an appropriate level of support grammatically that folks can provide to students. And that is helping them through things that maybe they know the right way to say it structurally in Czech or in whatever their native language is, but don't quite know how to put that down in written word in English. I think that is an appropriate time for somebody to help with the structure of the sentence. But I don't think that it's appropriate for anybody to rewrite an entire essay for somebody, even if the tone of the essay stays the same, even if the idea that is being presented stays the same, to correct all grammatical errors. And I think what you just said is really important, is that your English competency will come out somewhere. So even if we don't see it in the essay, we're going to find it in the activities section where you're telling us about your activities. We're going to see it in the additional information section or in your emails that you write to our office. So just know that it's okay if your written English is not 100% perfect. Universities do not expect that of you. And if they did, maybe you should consider not going there, because we want to bring students to our campuses that can provide differences of experience, differences of education, differences of cultural or perspective. And sometimes with that comes differences in the use of the English language. So don't be afraid to have a not perfectly structured essay in your application. That's okay.
And a very general question. So in terms of writing an essay, can you use abbreviations? Can, like, you know, I'm not really sure what the terms are or what the rules are.
Yeah, so you're welcome. You can use abbreviations as long as you tell us what they mean. Mm-hmm. So if there is a organization at your school or a part of your neighborhood that is really important in your essay, and you refer to it as an abbreviation, then just make sure to tell us what it is. Mm-hmm. That's all. As long as you explain to us what the abbreviation means, that's the most important part.
Perfect. Cool. Mm-hmm.
All right. And my final piece of initial planning advice here is if you could not come to a decision about what you wanted to write about, whether that's because there are so many things that you want to write about, or you're really stuck on mm-hmm. what you want to write about, it's okay to ask people, asking your friends or families some questions about yourself that may help guide your topic selection. And that's why I said earlier on that it's not okay for folks to give you unprompted advice on what to write your essay about. But if you go to your family and friends and say, hey, I'm trying to figure out the best way to write this, how can I go about doing so? That is a totally fine way to ask around for some advice and some help.
Cool.
Okay. All right, we're gonna do a quick activity here, and I'm gonna run through what the activity is, and I'm gonna encourage those watching to pause the presentation and take part in the activity, because I think that'll really help you understand how to best go about this process, especially if you're struggling to pick the essay topic that you want to write about. So the activity is called objective correlative, and basically what that means is that you're going to pick an object from your life, and you're going to simply write about things that you correlate with that object, okay, that you associate with that object. So I'm going to encourage folks to pick 3 things that you'd save from your house if it were on fire. So if your house was on fire and there were 3 things, they can be physical things, they can be pets, whatever it is that are most important for you to save from your house. Don't think too dramatic about this, right? I'm not actually saying that your house is going to burn down, but pick 3 things that are really important to you about that you own physically. So physical items that you own that you would save in case your house was on fire. Then the next step in the activity is for you to jot down a story about each one of those items. So pick a story, whether it's about the time that your teddy bear fell from your bed and hit you on your head and reminded you how important your brother who bought your teddy bear is, whatever it is, pick a story about those 3 different items and jot it down, just a couple of sentences or bullet points to explain what that item means to you, okay? So that's step number 1. And step number 2, pick those 3 items, jot down a story about each one of those items. I would encourage you to make it specific, because having really good specifics helps write essays as well. Now, once you've done that, and hopefully you've replayed the video, now pick just one of those items. And I know it may have been hard to select 3 that you have to save. So now it's going to be probably even harder for me to make you pick just one of those 3, because they're probably 3 important things to you. But pick one of those items, and all I'm going to ask you to do is write undistracted, unobstructed for 5 minutes about that item. I'm purposefully not going to give you a topic. I'm purposefully not encouraging you to pick a topic. All I want you to do is take 5 minutes of your time, pause this video, time yourself, and write about that item and what it means to you. Whatever comes to your head, it can be 1 word on a line, it can be a bullet point, it can be full, beautiful sentences. Whatever it is that you want to do, that's totally okay. Just write for 5 minutes, undistracted of anything around you about that particular item. And then we'll come back around.
Oh my God, this is such an amazing activity, but I'm still stuck at the like number one, and I'm trying to pick, I'm looking around, like honest, I'm like, what would I say, you know? So it's trickier than I thought, you know, like I'm looking around like everything, you know.
Yeah, it's a tricky activity, but that's on purpose. We're trying to challenge you a little bit here.
Yeah.
So hopefully you've all paused the video, taken some time to write down your 3 items, and then jot down a story that's related to those. Maybe now you're back at the step where you're going to actually pick one and write in full about it for 5 minutes. Because this is a recording and a live stream, we're not going to actually take the 5 minutes for you to write that, but hopefully you've done it yourself. And then I would encourage you to really think about, after you've written for those 5 minutes, a couple of things. First, think about why you picked that particular item. Not only why you picked that item out of all of the things in your house, but why did you pick that item out of the 3 most important things that you'd save from your house? Because that clearly stood out, whether it stood out to you because it was most important to you, whether it stood out to you because you knew you could write a good story about it, which I hope is part of the reason why you picked it, or whether you picked it because you thought it would be the most exciting thing for you to write more about. Whatever reason it was for you, think about why the reason is you picked that particular item. Then think about how much you were able to write in 5 minutes when you did not have a topic associated with you. I've done this activity many, many times over the years. I've done it myself as a participant. And sometimes I really amaze myself by how much I can write in 5 minutes. You can write hundreds of words in 5 minutes when it's something that you care about, when it's something that you have in front of you that really matters to you, and when it's a physical object. That makes it really easy to think about things from your life that mean something to you. The reason that I do this activity is not to help you have an essay, because most students will not utilize this essay in their college application process. The reason that I do this activity is to show you that you can write an essay, that it's okay for you to take something that may seem that it's only important to you and write about it for an extended period of time. Again, 5 minutes is not very long, but hopefully some of you were able to write pretty extensively about the item that you picked, tell us a story or two or why it mattered to you, and got something out of this activity, which is the entire purpose of it.
Wow, really cool. But I like going back a little bit, and I know you said that should this essay be about, I don't know, like emotions, or should it be very positive and so forth? I'm still kind of thinking about that. If you should really, I would write about myself or about the obstacles and so forth, but should it include like emotional moments, or should you kind of leave them aside and be very like, I'm not really sure, you know, like how, what's that thing that makes you keep reading, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a totally fair question. I think depending upon the prompt that you pick, it's going to really determine what sort of essay you're going to write. So if there are things that you want to share with us that are emotional and that have had a toll on your life or have impacted you in some way, and you feel comfortable writing an essay about that and sharing it with literal strangers who are going to be reading that essay, but you think it's important because it tells them something about you, I think that's amazing. That's a great way to kind of tell us who you are as a person beyond just the numbers that we see on your transcript and the information that we see in your letters of recommendation. However, some of the best essays that I've read are really silly ones that don't matter kind of at all. They are about accidentally adding graham cracker crumbs to a chocolate chip cookie recipe, and how the accidental things in life sometimes provide the best solutions, right? It told us almost nothing about that student, but showed their perspective on the world and how they're okay with dealing with things that maybe they didn't expect. So there's also totally okay. There are great essays that have nothing to do with the traumas of your life, but instead just show us how you see the world today and how you will continue to see the world moving forward.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah. And I like this approach much better, it's important to know how to overcome obstacles. So this is really cool to,
Absolutely.
have the
All right.
picture. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool.
All right. So we've come to our final piece here and just a little bit of general advice for us to wrap up our time together today. First, please write about something that you care about. I know I've said you about 50 times today. It's really important for you to write an essay about something that matters to you. First of all, we can tell. We can tell when you've written an essay about something that you don't care about. The structure of the essay, the way that the sentences flow, the words that you use, it makes it very apparent to us when an essay is whitewashed because you think it should sound a particular way. But also, if it's something that matters to you, it's going to be easier for you to write and you're going to enjoy writing about it. So think about that too, that should not just be an exercise in completing an essay, but also needs to be something that you enjoy doing. Don't ask for too much editing help. We've already covered this here. I would not ask for and I say too much because it's okay to ask for some. Don't ask for somebody to completely rewrite your essay because we want to make sure that your essay stays in your voice and tells us a story about who you are as a person. Share what you feel comfortable sharing. Everybody in life has gone through struggles. Everybody has gone through different things. The last few years, especially for current students in secondary school, have been traumatic in many ways and have been really challenging. We know that, admissions officers know that because we are also humans who've also lived through the last few years. But it's totally okay for you to share things about yourself that may be hard to share if you feel comfortable doing it. But I would never, ever, ever encourage a student to write an essay about something really traumatic in their lives if they were not yet comfortable talking about that experience. So please remember that your mental health matters. And if you feel uncomfortable putting something down onto paper, you probably should not be writing about that in your essay. And that's okay. If a university is expecting every single essay to be about how a person survived the most dramatic things in the world, maybe you don't want to go to that university. I'll just say it that way. Because I think it's really important for you to know that your essay matters because it comes from you. It should not matter because it is a life-changing evaluation of every piece of trauma that you've ever gone through in your life. So just remember that. A little piece of advice that I stole from one of my friends who works at Dickinson College in Pennsylvania is she always tells students that there should be more phoenix and less ashes. So if you're familiar with the story, I know, if you're familiar with the story of a phoenix rising from the ashes, I'm not going to explain it here. Feel free to Google it. Basically, the idea here is that we want to hear more about who you've become because of what you've gone through and what you've done, and less about what you've gone through and what you've done. We need less context and more who you are today and what you hope to be in the future. More of everything that you've grown and learned from a situation and less about what that situation was. Okay, it's really important for us to have that context of what you learned. Don't just tell us one particular story. It really is important for us to learn about who you've become because of it. And then lastly, I've said this multiple times, pick one topic and stick to it. Answer the topic, that's it. Ask yourself if your essay that you've written answered the topic that you selected. And if it did, you're in a good shape and a good position to be considered well in this process.
That's amazing. Yeah. No, I really like the more phoenix, less ashes, because we tend to focus more on the negative parts.
Right.
And we don't like to boast about ourselves. So yeah, but this is a great advice. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah.
Of course.
Awesome. So our presentation came to an end. It was really informative, and I hope you guys, I hope you guys learned something new. I hope that it gave you ideas how to research the topics and not really what to write about, but how to brainstorm. Like the brainstorming behind essay writing is also important. And if you still have questions, please, there is email to Kevin, to myself. Feel free to reach out. We are here to help. And Kevin read really a lot of essays. I'm sure that he'll be happy to give you feedback. And yeah, thank you for listening. Kevin, thank you for joining us. And I'll be happy to do some live streams again with you. It was my pleasure.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Be safe and have
Yeah,
a good day.
perfect. Let me stop.